one of those people that just have endless amounts of Chrome tabs open or just browser tabs open, and then all of a sudden your browser closes and you lose everything and you're like, oh my god, I can't get any of that back, I was saving those for later? Well, you don't have to worry about that anymore because Hoarder will fix that for you. Now, Hoarder itself is pretty self-explanatory. It is a self-hostable bookmark manager, but it's a bookmark manager that's a bit better than the ones that you might be used to. So if you're used to bookmarks, normally, as you can see, I have a few bookmarks up at the top here in my browser. It's not like that. This one will give you a nice UI that you can interact and keep everything in one place, but you can access it from any sort of device. They even have a mobile app. So in this video, I'll walk you through Hoarder. We'll just get a bit of an idea. I'll show you how it works and some of the features it has, and then I'll show you how you can get this all up and running using Docker, and more specifically Docker Compose, and all of the documentation links and all of that good stuff will be in the description. And if you do like this video, make sure to like and subscribe. I don't normally ask that often, but it will be great. So this is Hoarder. As you can see, this is a homepage that I have here. So as soon as you find something that you like, an image, a note that pops up in your head, or there's a website you're visiting, you can just paste the link in this box. So for example, let's say we're on my docs.techdox.nz website and I was wanting to get around to installing Nextcloud at some point, but I don't have time right now, right? So a lot of people, they just have a browser tab left open and they don't shut their computer down and whatnot. And that's kind of annoying because one, browser tabs use up a lot of space on your computer, and two, you can accidentally lose your session and goodbye tabs, right? So with Hoarder, all we can do is copy that URL, come to our Hoarder app, paste it in, hit save, and then it's going to save that as a bookmark, and we can always just come back to it whenever we need. So we can see that saved, and now you can see like the thumbnail is kind of blurry. So what's happening at the moment is it's generating the metadata for you. So it's going to grab an image here, and then it's going to put a bit of information down the bottom if there's some there. So you can see straight away, there's the metadata of the image, so setting up Nextcloud, and then we've got a little blurb at the bottom here. And now if we want, so we can add a couple ways that we can find this easier. If we come down here, we can edit some tags, and if you've got some tabs available, or you can add your own tags. I've got one called self-hosting, so I can add it to this list. And well, it's not a list, it's just a tag. There we go. So now it's got these self-hosting tags. And if we click on the actual tag itself, we can see any other item that also has that tag. Going back, we also have this thing called lists. So on the side here, we have lists. So what I could do is I could make a new list, and I could call this self-hosting, right? We could change the logo, and we won't have a parent for this one, and we can hit create. And then what we can do, you'll notice on the left-hand side here that it will pop up, right? We have nothing in here. So we can click this little edit at the top, and we can select it that we want, and we can add it to the list, and now it will be under the self-hosting. But you don't always have to do that. That's kind of like an uncategorized way of adding it to that list, right? What you could also do is when we come to self-hosting, we could also just paste them directly in here in the list, and then they will automatically be in here, right? So that's the home tag, and then of course you've got search. Now what happens is it's like indexing essentially, so over time the other tabs that you add will pop up here. So that docs one isn't showing up, but all the others are. So example, if I type Tarkov, which is the game I've been playing, that pops up. Airsoft, of course that one pops up. The self-hosting, of course Hoarder pops up, or even if we just type Hoarder itself, if I can spell it properly, you know, it pops up. So there's all the searching and everything in here. And then if I type Techdox, we can see the actual name doesn't have the Techdox term in it, it's just the tag. So we're searching off those as well. Now if we come under tags, you can see that we have self-hosting, Airsoft, games, and Techdox. Now we also have AI tags. Hoarder actually supports OpenAI. So if you have an OpenAI API key, you can use that, and it would use a lot of the logic to tag and automatically tag what you paste in here. So if you're already paying for OpenAI API, use it here and it will do all the automatic tagging for you. And then you have unused tags. Of course, if you create a tag but nothing's been categorized for it, it will pop up here. And then if you want, what you can actually do here is, if you see the drag and drop merging, if I wanted to merge two tags together, you can see how you could drop them on each other. So this is self-hosting and Techdox. So you can see that I've just merged that there. So the Techdox and the self-hosting has now been merged together. So that's just a quick and easy way to do that. And now we have highlights. So this is what's really cool. So if we come into highlights, we can see we don't have any highlights yet, right? So if we come back to the home and we can see the Nextcloud app that I was working on, if we click it, it will take us directly to that web page. But if we click the expand button down here, it opens up the content in Hoarder itself. And what you can do here is you can add notes on the right hand side. You can summarize it with AI if you want to quickly summarize it if you've got the AI enabled. But you can also highlight text, right? So let's say I just want to highlight this bottom part because this is a part that I'm interested in. Let's highlight it blue. So you can see that we've highlighted that now. We can also favorite it, archive it, or delete it from here as well, or we can just view the original. You can also change your tags here as well. But now if I close out of this and go back to highlights, we can see straight away a snippet of where we got that from. We can also click the source to go exactly to the source of what that was referencing. And you can also delete the highlight here as well, which is awesome. If you're working on something and you need to categorize your general highlights, maybe you've got some links or just something, they are all here. And then of course you've got your archives as well. So if we come back here, click on the docs and we click archive, that's going to archive this for us. And then, you know, if this is no longer relevant, but we don't want to delete it, we just want to archive it away. That's exactly what this is for. So if we click on archive now, we can see that. And then again, we've got the list on the left. All lists, favorite, archive, gaming, self-hosting. It's all the same sort of thing. And then just quickly, the last little bits, you can change the layout, of course. So you can change it to grid, a list if you'd prefer, or compact if you don't want the images. So you don't have to, if you don't like the look, you can definitely tidy that up. The bulk edit, like I was telling you before, you can change, you can copy the links, add to lists, edit tags, favorite, archive, download the full page archive if you would like. Refresh it, maybe something's not quite loaded in yet, you've got the refresh button there for you, or maybe the web page has changed, you can hit the refresh and it will update any of your links. And then if we click here, we can actually change the user settings themselves as well. So we've got the user settings here. If we come in here, you can change your password, all of that good stuff. You've got the AI settings. So again, if you're using the OpenAI, you can set up a prompt, change the tagging rules, add prompts, telling it exactly how you want it to handle this sort of stuff. If you want, you can add RSS subscriptions here as well, which is awesome. So you can see here that if you have bookmarks already, you can import them in. So everything that you've already got running on your browser, don't worry, bring them in the Hoarder. You can do that. You can grab it from Pocket, so other applications. You've got Omnivore, you've got Link Warden if you're using Link Warden. Maybe you're coming from a different Hoarder, you can do that here, and then you can also export it all as well. You've got the API keys is here, so if you would rather interact with Hoarder using API keys, well, the API itself, then you can do that. And then if any of your bookmarks have broken, any of the links are no longer working, you can see them here. Now, since this user is an admin, we have admin settings as well, and we can see what's been going on. We can see how many bookmarks we have, how many users, and the version of Hoarder we're using. And Hoarder itself has a few background jobs going on. It has things that will tidy. It's, you know, constantly checking those bookmarks and doing indexing. You can see here that I have 9 indexes queued up. We have the user list here. So if you're wanting to add new users, you can do that. And you can tell, you know, if another admin or just a general user. And then you've got actions here as well. So let's say, you know, things aren't popping up in the search yet. Well, you can click re-index, and then this will run that re-index and queue it up to run. If you want to check all your links, you can do, you know, you can trigger these. But again, these are running in the background anyways. It's just if you want to force it now, then that's how you can do it. But that's essentially Hoarder. If this has piqued your interest, I'm going to show you now how you can get this all set up for yourself. So this is Hoarder's documentation. So I will also have a link to my documentation of this as well, just with the exact compose that I'm using. So you can just grab it as well if you'd like, but their documentation is also very easy to follow. So again, you want to make sure you have Docker and Docker Compose installed, and then you're all good to go through these steps. So I'm going to run through these steps now with you, and we'll get this all up and running. So I've just logged into my sandbox server, and what I'm going to do, I do this with all of the applications that I install. So we're going to change directory into Docker. I always have a Docker folder. And then once we're in here, we can look at the documentation, and it's telling us to just make this directory Hoarder app. So we can call it whatever we like. So we can call it Hoarder app or whatever. We'll paste that in there, and now we can change directory into the Hoarder app. And now it's telling us to download the compose file. So if you've watched my other videos, sometimes we just use Nano and we just make it. They already have one provided for us. So we can actually just copy this and run this command, and it will download the compose file into our directory. So we can go ahead and do that. So if I paste this command here, it's going to pull that compose file. So now if I do an ls, we can see we have that compose file now in here. So that's all it did. It just went out to GitHub and grabbed that compose file. Now that we have the compose file, the good thing is that they use just like environment files. That just allows us to make the key changes that it's expecting, right? So we can grab these values here, right? Just hit the copy button, and we'll make a file called .env. So if I just do like a nano.env like that, and we can paste that in. So what this is going to do is, one, it's going to tell Docker Compose what version of Hoarder we want to use, and we just wanted to use the release, so we can leave that as it is. Now it's going to need 2 keys from us. These are just some secret values that it needs for next auth and merely, I think is how you pronounce it. So what we need to do here is generate these keys. Now this is quite simple to do. I'll show you this in a second. And the bottom one here is the next auth URL. So this is actually the URL that we'll be accessing the authentication page of Hoarder on. So if you're going to be running this with a domain name, you need to make sure you set the domain name here. If you're going to be using this just via a local IP address and port, then that's what you need to define here. For this example, I'll just be using the local IP address. You might have noticed on the other one that I was using had the full domain name. So either or will work. So let's handle these secret keys here. We need to generate 2 keys. We can actually just run this command here twice and it will give us 2 secrets. Now, if you don't have this installed on your machine, just go to ChatGPT and ask it to generate it, or download a tool to do it, or install OpenSSL to actually do it as well. So if I just type in OpenSSL here and ran, which is going to generate a random base 64 36 character key. So if I hit enter, there's our first one, and there's our second one. Paste that in, and now we need to make sure that this here is the IP address of the server that's hosting Hoarder, right? There we go. And this is wanting to run on port 3000. Now I'm pretty sure 3000 is probably used, so I'm going to change this to 3120, okay? But you don't actually have to change it. But if you do change this port, I'm going to save this here. We need to change it in the compose as well. So we'll have a look at the compose anyway. So we'll go in here. And we can see what's happening. It's going to use the version, and then it's using that environment variable, which we defined in the .env file. But you can see here ports. So I need to change this to 3120, which is what I used just before. And you can see it's expecting to use a .env file. Now you don't need to change any of these. Now here is where, if you're using OpenAI, you can paste your API key in here so it can use that. You can see we also have a few other variables here, like disable GPU, no sandbox, and stuff like that. And these are, so merely search is what it uses for the search component. And we've got a couple of volumes here as well. So we don't need to change any of this. We're pretty happy with all of this. So we can save it, close it, exit out. And now if I do a docker compose up-d and hit enter, this is going to grab the images. So again, Hoarder is based up of 3 images, right? It's got the search functionality, it's got the web, and then it's got the Chrome. And so one of those is the authentication part of Hoarder. It's creating the network, the volume, and it just spun up those containers. So providing that we're all good here, we should be able to connect to that IP address and port. 128, and what was it? 3120, I believe the port was, and I hit enter. And there we go. We just hit Hoarder. So of course we don't have a sign in, so we're going to have to sign up. And your first user when you sign up will always be the admin, right? And there we go. We are now in Hoarder, and you can now start pasting links, and away you go. But that's essentially it. That is Hoarder. Again, their documentation, everything will be in the description, so make sure to go check that out. Once I've written my docs as well, it would also pop up if it's not already there when this video goes live. Otherwise, check back on the page, and it should be there eventually. Make sure to join the Discord. I have a Raspberry Pi 5 giveaway that's finishing on the 22nd, I believe. So if it's not the 22nd of January yet, jump in, make sure to enter that. Merch store, all of that good stuff is a good way to support me. All of the funds that are earned via that just go back to the community, which is you guys anyway. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Happy New Year, everyone, and have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.